So welcome everybody to Marketing Matters. This is our weekly webinar brought to you by Landmark Title. I'm Sarah Touchstone with Landmark Title, and I am joined today by Zac Storey. He is the #1 coach and mentor at West USA. He is also the guru for everything real estate. Zac has been in the real estate industry about as long as I've been alive. So he is a wealth of, he's just younger than he looks younger than he is, right?
I'm 142.
Exactly, like double the time I've been alive. But Zac is my go-to for brainstorming when it comes to real estate. We get together, what's going on in the market, what's happening, how can we stay ahead of the trends? He's just a wealth of knowledge. He's going for his master's at Harvard. So some of the things that's going to come out of his mouth, they're going to sound really smart. It's because he is really smart. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right in here today, Zac. Oh, and by the way, today we're coming live to you on Marketing Matters from the West USA North Phoenix corporate office. That's right. We're getting back out there. We're doing stuff. We're having meetings in person. So this is kind of fun today, Zac. Like, we're actually in person. I get to hear you and see you, not just through a computer screen.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking about this yesterday, and she said, okay, do we just want to zoom in? I'm like, no. So let's get together. Let's start having fun again. So welcome, everybody. We're really excited to be here with you. We'll just go ahead and dive right into the presentation. So, Sarah gave a little bit of an intro about myself. Today we're talking basically about neurolinguistics. How do you, we always kind of joke, how do you train your spouse is a fun way to think about this, but really it's not about training your spouse. It's training kind of anyone to do what you want them to do in a good way. We never use this in a manipulative way. It will ruin relationships if you do that. But you can definitely deploy it in a good way that gets fantastic results for yourself and your client. So a little bit about me. I've been in the market here in Phoenix for almost 24 years now, basically full-time, pretty much the entire time. I have dabbled a little bit in some other industries just for fun here and there, but 24 years in real estate here, sold over 1,000 homes, made a ton of expensive mistakes, which is, I think that probably says more than just about anything. I was the #1 coach at West USA for about 3 years pre-COVID, and then kind of just started focusing more on studies and how we can actually help you guys even better. So let's go ahead and move into the presentation. Why are neurolinguistics important? Brains have changed over the last 15, 20 years. Some of you who have sat through some of my classes understand that's because of electronic devices, right? All of our devices are what is changing the way that our brains fire from the chemical perspective and how we act as human beings. Processing is no longer this primarily analytical mechanism. There's so much information in our brains that we can't possibly process it all. So processing now is largely gap filling. Okay, so what we're trying to do is go through and plug gaps to make life a little easier. This makes up the concept of process fluency. And the important thing about process fluency is basically that's where this top of mind concept comes from. So brains love automaticity more than anything else right now. They want things to be simple. They want things to be automatic. It doesn't matter if you're trying to sell a house, if you're trying to sell a cleaning detergent, if you're trying to sell production of an aircraft carrier. You've got to make sure that your consumer has a very easy process to plug in and be able to use your service. And it has to make sense to them. And you've got to create this process fluency in everything that you do. So why is this really important? Think about it from the product's perspective, okay? There are a couple of products out there that come to mind when you're out in the marketplace and you're shopping for stuff. If you go to the grocery store and think of what you would tell your significant other or your spouse, or your roommate, hey, I need to go to the grocery store, and do we say, I'm going to get dishwashing detergent? No.
Yes, I do.
Usually we say something like, I'm going to get Tide, right? She's a geek. Very specific.
Brand recognition.
Brand recognition, right? Who is the best college in Arizona, right? People automatically know.
Forks up.
It's all about ASU, okay? Sorry, U of A guys. We try to have some fun with that one. A lot of people, if you're a coffee lover like myself, and I'm actually not a lover of this brand, I try to do everything I can to stay away from it. But some people, they say instead of going for coffee, they're going for Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing to put yourself in a position to where your brand, your work processes, everything that you do in real estate becomes as easy on the brain as Kleenex, right? Yeah. So a lot of times people will say, I don't need a nasal tissue. Go get me a Kleenex.
Go get me a Kleenex.
Right? Something Kleenex did a very good job. And all of these companies, including the educational institutions, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year on that brand recognition. You can do it simpler for a hell of a lot cheaper just by going through and using some of these tips that we're going to give you today.
Yeah, and I've actually used a lot. Like I said, Zac and I have been working together for years. And when I came over to Landmark Title, that was one of my main focuses, was building the brand. Because Landmark Title, at the time that I joined, had only been doing residential real estate, title and escrow for a couple of years. And it was like, Landmark who? So I used a lot of Zac's techniques to build that Landmark brand up. And just a few years later, whoa.
Very impactful stuff. So, but why does this kind of work? Our brains a lot of times work on these little shortcuts called biases. And a bias is basically a faulty process in the brain that's based upon some of our past interactions in life, okay? Or preferences in life. Those even getting even smaller go down to like the reptilian center of the brain, the oldest parts of the brain where it's fight, flight, those types of interactions. But those are called heuristics. So our brain categorizes quickly to notice things like a dangerous object. And some of you who have been in some of my classes, we flash a rattlesnake getting ready to strike up on the big screen. And every single time I do that, we have people who kind of jump back and like, whoa, is that rattlesnake going to bite you? No. The only way that thing's going to hurt you is if the monitor flies off the screen or flies off the wall, flies across the room and hits you in the head. But we are programmed to recognize danger and to act accordingly. Getting burned. If anybody's ever burned their hand on a stove, you know very well that you don't go near the stove with your hand. Same type of thing, right? It's things that become Facebook real. Husband equals bad. Like there are some things in life that just heuristically we are taught to attach these values to, and it's all about those shortcuts. So there are a couple of ways that we can actually go through and override those. Well, think of it more along the lines, before we go into that, think about it more along the lines of yourself as a consumer. Somebody knocks on your door. What do you think?
Oh, no.
Oh, boy, here comes the sales pitch, right? Somebody else comes by, knocks a little while later. Just another salesperson. So somebody comes by, knocks a little while later. It's like, ugh, seriously, leave me the heck alone. I hate salespeople. But then it's the pizza guy.
Ooh.
Everybody loves the pizza guy.
Or the Amazon delivery
or the
guy.
pizza lady, or the Amazon delivery lady, right? Yeah. How do you become attached to that sensation, that emotional attachment of, ooh, I want to talk to this person. They're giving me something that I actually want to use and want to consume, right? So
bring pizza?
What's that?
You can bring pizza?
You can bring pizza, yeah.
I'll open my door.
Anytime you want to come by my house and bring me some pizza, we typically go through 3 larges in our house because we love pizza. So just saying. But how do we beat the brain at this game? Okay. Number one, we've got to interrupt the customer's expectations. In the door knocking classes, we teach that you always make the interaction not about the person at the door that you're talking to, but about somebody else, right? We're going in and we don't want to look like salespeople dressed in, jackets and a dress shirt and slacks and dress shoes. A lot of times, if you go and you interact with somebody like that here in Phoenix, they run out the back door because they're like, you're the IRS or you're the feds.
Yeah,
right?
And no backpacks.
No backpacks. You want to look like basically a neighbor who's coming over with a little piece of mail or something to share with the individual, okay? You've got to interrupt those expectations. Don't just jump right in. Hey, would you be interested in buying or selling a house? No. That's not the way that we should operate. People hate that. We see a lot of the posts on Nextdoor when people are going through neighborhoods and trying to talk to, about open houses or just listeds and stuff like that. It's like, oh, watch out for this real estate agent. We don't want to be that individual, right? We've got to make that presentation about somebody else, pivot outside what the consumer is expecting and shock them with a different approach, okay? That kind of disarms that heuristic bias that they have. Number two, you've got to outsource the threat and burden. Place that on somebody else. Ask them for help with something. A lot of times when we get incoming calls, it's like, hey, we've got basically a listing in the area. We're having some issues finding, we've got buyers in the area now. We're having issues finding some listings. Do you know any of your neighbors who'd be looking to sell? A lot of times that's going to have a far better impact on your conversion rates than just asking somebody if they want to sell their house. I've received 2 texts this morning before 10 o'clock, really before 9 o'clock, from investors wanting to buy homes, right? We're only buying 4 homes this month. This is like the 10th time this guy's texted me in the last 2 weeks. You guys probably all get the same thing, okay? Don't be that individual that makes it about the person that you're reaching out to. Make it about somebody else. This makes them feel like they're in control of the situation, not you trying to sell something.
Yeah, that kind of goes like with open houses too. Like if you're door knocking and you've got an open house, mention to people, I'm here because I want you to pick your neighbors. That's saying I need your help so that you get what you want out of this.
There are a lot of jokes there, but I'm not even going to go there. Number 3, invoke curiosity by asking positive, curious questions, okay? There's an amazing thing about curiosity. When you invoke curiosity in a conversation with somebody who doesn't know you, and I know, we try to invoke curiosity with ourselves all the time when we're talking about, business production meetings and how can we get agents to become more productive. But when you're working on a one-on-one relationship, a brand new relationship with somebody, if you ask to be able for them to help you solve a problem, and a lot of times it's like, I wonder how, and then you deliver the question, right? You're going to see their body language. They're going to change and they're going to mimic you and be like, I wonder too. You've just asked them to partner up with you on a process that's going to help you guys bond and build trust almost instantaneously in that relationship, because people love being plugged into a social setting where you can help solve each other's problems, right? And this all goes to the basic chemical firings in the brain: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, which is that trust and love thing that we always talk so much about.
Absolutely. I mean, even just, somebody asking, like your spouse comes up and says, should I wear this or this? Okay, maybe that doesn't, I see Zach's face. Maybe that doesn't work so well for him, but on the opposite end
I'm not stepping in that one, guys.
If he went up to his wife and said, honey, should I wear this shirt or this shirt? Giving her that option of participation and choice. And then, we know as spouse, you're going to wear the opposite of what your spouse picked. Yeah. But the idea is that you would wear the one that they picked. Bringing it back to the spouse. So, word to the wise, go with the one your spouse picks.
So our job is to sell emotional decisions, not houses, right? An emotional decision is somebody that people are going to live with for the rest of their life. If you're able to get them to the point where they are the hero in that decision-making process, instead of making it about the product, we've already looked at 23 homes and you've been in a contract twice, right? Like, why are you not moving forward? That's not the way to deploy this, okay? You've got to go through, and we're going to talk about lines here in a few minutes with that neuro-linguistic programming that are going to help with that type of a scenario, because we're all experiencing a lot of that right now, right? So remember, customers are confused, especially when it comes to their ability to be able to trust themselves with decisions. So we've got to be those individuals that help guide them through that process in a way, again, that doesn't manipulate them, but helps them shortcut, make life a little easier for that decision process. So think about some of the recent events going back, probably 25 years and throughout the last 25 years of business history and stuff like that. WorldCom, got to get in. Everybody's making a ton of money. It's the bomb. And what did it do? It basically imploded, right? Went bankrupt. Everybody lost everything, including my grandfather lost his entire retirement in that. Devastated lives. People lost confidence in their decision-making abilities, right? College degree equals no financial stress. I was going to say equals financial stress. And that's probably more along the lines of the truth now, right? But, going back 20 years, get a college degree. That's the ticket to success.
That's the dream that my generation, that was the dream that we were taught growing up.
Absolutely. And the other one was real estate, safest investment in history. Now, in today's market, it looks pretty good. Unfortunately, anybody who lived through the trauma of 2007, really 2006, that ramp up to the implosion through 2012 and a couple of years later, depending on if you had to file a short sale when it happened, right? I mean, it was a very, very difficult time for people. That has impacted, studies have shown that has impacted not only the owners at that point in time who went through a short sale, but their children, like impacted 2 generations of buyers in that consumer mentality for our marketplace. Just that one incredibly difficult event that we went through. The market will crash. Buy gold now. Anybody who watches daytime TV, and we're all real estate agents sitting on our couches, right? We watch daytime TV. If you're watching Maury Povich or whatever, name your favorite channel, your favorite show, you see commercials for this, and it's hilarious. Same commercial. Richard Devane, I think his name is, right? Same commercial for the last 30 years. The world's going to fall apart. You've got to own gold. Gold's doing pretty good right now, but historically speaking, it's been horrible, absolutely horrible investment. So people aren't too keen on that, right? Not only do they not trust us as salespeople just because of market messaging, they don't trust themselves either, okay? Consumers are scared. There's too much information. We already talked about that. The flow of information is too constant for anybody to really go out there and make an educated decision. I don't know about you guys, but when I jump on Amazon to pick something, and I think maybe because of my ADD, even a menu at a restaurant where they have like 3-4 pages of menu. Cheesecake Factory, they have like 5,000 volumes of menus that you can choose from. I can't make a decision in that type of a setting. There's too much information. There's too much in front of me. Give me 4 or 5 decisions. 4 or 5 choices. I'll be able to make it. That's, a lot of times that's how the consumer is thinking out there in the marketplace too. So emotion always overrides focused logic. Okay. So in most professional sales classes, they teach that you get people to buy on emotion and then later on back up with fact. They justify with fact after they've made that emotional decision. That's what we're trying to reach here. So, you saw it on Facebook, it must be true.
Oh, it's totally true. That's where I get all my best information.
Especially political stuff, okay?
Especially.
If you could stop forming your political opinions from memes on Facebook, that'd be great, right? So this was a lot more fun, a year and a half ago during the election cycle to say that, but I think it's even more true now. It's just brutal. So how do we combat this? And their speech patterns. That's what we're all here for. Now that we've got the background, let's talk about how we actually do this. We've got to look at what the people are actually thinking. We've got to look at how easy we can make them retrieve the information that we want and turn that into a gut feeling. 2 Mayo slides here. These are EMRIs from brain scans showing activity in the brains when people are stressed and depressed. The ones on the left, when they're optimally functioning, is the one on the right. We've got to get them to the point to where they're on the right-hand side. And we embed commands into our speech patterns to help do that. We make that transition in that chemical firing, okay? There's 7 elements to this. We're going to briefly go through these, and I think you'll see how these all relate. Definitely, if you're interested in this type of material, go out there. You can do some more research on this. There are a ton of books out there on it. I had a conversation last week with Chris Voss. He was one of the lead FBI negotiators and taught FBI the negotiation tactics to the FBI for a number of years. Wrote a book, and I'll actually recommend it at the end of the class if you guys are interested in checking it out. Leave Nothing on the Table on negotiation. It's an amazing book. But we were talking a lot about these different commands and how they use them out there in the marketplace. Amazing guy, wealth of information. He's the type of individual that if you want him to speak at an event, you're dropping $50,000 to have him walk on stage. Definitely an amazing guy. But this is very impactful stuff that they use on a daily basis, right? So number 1, suggestions. Suggestions are very subtle commands. They help the client subconsciously place value on what you're trying to sell them, okay? The client thinks it's their idea to take actions. That's why subtle suggestions is so empowering for the client. You say things that, you'll think this is the right choice when we come to it. When we walk into this house, you'll know that a great decision is being made when you decide to buy it. When we find the right house for you, you're going to jump on it, right? Are they taking care of that item right now? No, we're suggesting that this is how they're going to think later on in that process, okay? Commands, far more direct. Chris Voss would tell you that commands can be used in very tense situations, shouldn't really be used in a selling situation, okay? And we talk a lot about basically your tonality of your speech. Commands have a particular tonality, right? They're more factual. This is how things are going to happen. Notice that little inflection at the end? Notice when you're giving commands to your kids or your spouses, right? If you choose to do so, if you're brave enough to do so in my household, notice your tonality and how that actually works. We're going to talk about some other tonalities here in just a few minutes. So you're telling your client how to take an action. You're telling them how they're going to feel. You're telling your clients how to think. This is something that you can use in particular situations. You've got to tread lightly on this one, okay? Presuppositions. This is where you imply and amplify the suggestions and commands. You're giving a powerful, true, and accurate statement, right? When you find the house that you like, it's going to be very natural for you to make that decision.
Oh, that just sounds so nice.
That just sounds so nice, right? Okay. When you're in that Benzer negotiation and they ask for all those repairs, you're honestly, after you emote for a couple of days, we're going to come back and think logically about this, and you'll be totally comfortable with moving forward and completing some of those issues that are on the Benzer, right? Because it just makes sense. If you say that early on in the conversation, you're going to be able to kind of hack into that emotion once you get that Benzer reply from the buyers, and the seller is like, my house is perfect. I'm not doing these 6 items. Well, these are 6 simple items. It's going to cost you $14 to do all 6 of these, right? But if you say that up front, right then they're probably going to get a little offended. If you preempt that earlier on in the conversation, you're going to be able to go through and attach the emotion that they had when you were talking about that earlier on in the conversation, in that relationship, and disarm the emotion at the time that you actually get that Benzer reply. It's a lot of fun to actually deploy this stuff. You can go through, we'll have Sarah send these slides out to you guys so you can practice them, see how you can inject some of this stuff into your business. It's a lot of fun using this. And honestly, I found this stuff out probably about 15 minutes ago, just by mistake, and how to talk to people and what got the best reactions when you were in these fast-paced scenarios, okay? Setup phrases. Intends to remove the focus from us and give the consumer ownership of the scenario. Subconscious trigger to repeat and reinforce the suggestions and commands that we've already given, right? You will find that. If you were to see what you have and what we have in common there, it's going to that individual and helping them realize that they're the ones that are in control, okay? Feel, felt, found is a perfect example of this. Sometimes we'll talk about objections in a second, but sometimes people will, if you take a sales class and they're talking about objections, they're going to tell you that you need to use this feel, felt, found method. And what that's saying is, you know what, I totally understand. We've had past clients feel this way. After we resolve this issue, they felt this way. And you're going to find that if we encounter this, right? So you're taking it from a past issue that you've actually had and turning it into a win for not only that customer, but your customer as well. And it's a real easy way to disarm a lot of the emotion that you have whenever you're encountering objections. Nice. Establish a relational authority through questions. So we talked a little bit about that invoking curiosity, right? We have kind of 2 different types of individuals when it comes to people answering questions. We have those who will give you the full answer. They trust you. They're going to be very open about the answer. We have those that are more closed vested. They're not going to be willing to share information. A lot of times it's personality. A lot of times it's cultural. Hopefully it's not a combination of the 2, because that can be very difficult. It takes a long time, a great amount of trust to be able to kind of break that down. There have been some research projects that have asked the question, is it better to ask open-ended or closed-ended questions to these types of individuals? What they found, of course, if you have somebody who's fully answering questions, you ask open-ended questions. You're allowing them to go through and build that relationship with you by divulging information. If they're willing to speak, the chemicals that are firing in their brain are telling them that they're in control and they're going to be able to trust you through the transaction. Those who are closed vested, you've got to, a lot of times if you find you're asking open-ended questions and they're not truly answering those initially, try some more closed-ended, yes, no questions, okay? A lot of times you could try, and Chris Voss talks about not asking yes questions, because people have been trained by salespeople that if you have a couple of yes questions in a row, that's called a yes close, they're being entrapped.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing we want to do is make people feel like they're being trapped into making a decision. You can use no questions to get people to open up a little better. Just flip the script, flip that question. Would it be ridiculous? That is a great question to ask. Okay. Would it be ridiculous to think that? And then people will go through that thought process and be like, no, it wouldn't be ridiculous to think that. Okay, cool. Now you have an open door, right? So after you ask some closed-ended questions with these individuals, then you can start getting them to open up a little bit once you start building that trust and really getting to the point to where they're divulging more information. You're able to find out more about their scenario and how we can build those presuppositions to help them later throughout the transaction.
Nice.
Engage and eliminate objections. Don't think of objections from your clients as a negative, okay? Rejection, objections, probably early in our dating history, when we were teenagers or 24, we got to the point to where rejections created a massive emotional landslide, and it was a negative reaction, right? So what we have to do is rewire our thinking to understand that an objection is nothing more than for a call of help.
Yeah,
it's like
an opening for a line of communication.
Absolutely. You're helping them. They have a problem. You're going to be in a position to be able to help them resolve that problem. If you're able to do that, you're making a massive step forward in that relationship and in your sales cycle. So steps to objection hacking, anticipate them before they occur, okay? And if you've gone through 3 or 4 real estate transactions, you're going to be able to anticipate how your buyer or seller are going to think if a scenario happens. Anticipate that before it occurs and actually build it in your communication earlier on in the relationship. Nullify those in the conversation, which basically is just what we just said. Reframe to get to the core issue. So a lot of times with our buyers, they're like, well, it's an extra $5,000 in order to be able to close this thing. It's like, well, let's reframe it. Let's take it from this long-term, large amount, and let's break it down into something smaller. A lot of times I do that with McDonald's, right? Because everybody knows what McDonald's is. Nobody likes McDonald's. Maybe you like the French fries. My wife loves the French fries.
Or their broken ice cream machines.
Right? You want to hear no a lot, go to the line at McDonald's. But reframe that into, you know what, it's $5,000. From the lending side, that translates to $20 to $22 per month in cost to you. Can you give up McDonald's for 2 people once a month in order to be able to get the house that you want? See how that's reframed? That's reframing. Stop, and that used to be true in your communication, okay? Not in a negative way, like stop. No, it's just like, no, let's, that used to be true, but now what we're seeing is, and you're able to kind of break down that concern for the client. Maintain neutrality, right? Don't take one side or the other. You're basically helping them get the transaction done, answering their questions. A lot of times we see agents from the broker's perspective who are getting so involved in the transaction that they lose sight of the neutrality and almost in the negotiating position with their client, right? Most of the negotiating we do in a transaction is with our own clients. And it happens a lot in this language that we're using earlier on in the relationship. So make sure that they understand that you're on their side, but you also have to make sure that they understand that you have their best interest at heart, regardless of what they think. Okay. And that's the neutrality that we're talking about. Number 7, quickly, just combine elements 1 through 6. There's a synergistic effect when you do this. It's very, very impactful. Again, use the following examples. We would go through and we can send out some examples of how you would see this in real estate conversations. For the interest of time, we kind of cut some of those out. But when you go through and you look at a conversation between an agent and a buyer or an agent and a seller, if you plan the conversation accordingly, or you get used to using this, you can go through and actually color code and see how much of that conversation is neuro-linguistics, okay? And it's basically 90 to 100%. It's a very high percentage if you learn to use this stuff wisely, and it will have dramatic impacts on your business in a good way, So 2 resources for you guys. We talked about Chris Voss. Again, Never Split the Difference. You can find both of these books, Amazon. Do they even have bookstores anymore? Wherever you get books.
Still a place.
I don't get out much. Wherever you can find these things, amazing books. Never Split the Difference. Heather Monahan is another a prolific speaker. She was in the top 40 for women speakers in the entire world last year. New York Times bestseller. She does a fantastic job talking about confidence. Has done a lot of TED Talks. She was involved in one of the classes recently. She was a TA for our class, so she helped set up a lot of the speakers we had, like Chris Voss and Portia Bennett, who wound up on the cover of Time magazine, stuff like that. So very well connected. She does a great job with podcasts and with Clubhouse, that new social interaction app. So if you haven't jumped on that yet, that's probably a great direction for new agents to go when you're looking at how to build communities and make yourself look like an expert. A lot of the speakers are going to, a lot of the prolific speakers are going to that platform just because it's a very easy way for them to get in general conversations with people and hopefully change their lives. So thanks for listening, guys. That's basically the content for today. Do you guys have any questions at all?
Let's see, Zach. We got something in the chat. Oh, what Clubhouse group did you say would be a good one?
There are a ton of ones out, ton of them out there, Kelly. You should probably start your own if you haven't already. I don't know if you're on it, but that's a great way. I know, first-time home buyers are difficult right now, and everybody's like, right? But seriously, I mean, when you're looking at having conversations with people, what's going on in the marketplace, start there.
Yeah.
Jump out there. But you can go on, search for individuals that you like, see if you can find them out there on LinkedIn, YouTube, see if they're on Clubhouse, see what they're doing. And it's amazing. You just have this nice collaborative, interactive chat with this world-renowned expert on a particular subject. And it's a lot of fun.
That's actually really cool. I'm kind of jealous. I don't have an iPhone, so I hear all about Clubhouse. And I'm super jealous. Maybe we should create our own little Phoenix real estate on a different platform. Thoughts on that? Crickets. Okay. All right. So if you are an awesome iPhone user, that's Kelly's you need an iPhone. She said she's gotten deals from Clubhouse.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Boom. Just like that.
There you go.
All right. So if you guys have any other questions, if you'd like a copy of the presentation today, obviously we recorded it, but we can always send out the slides to you. Zach's information's up here as well if you want to reach out to him. My mind is always blown whenever I talk with Zach. And it's funny because as he goes through this presentation, I think about the times in my life that I've either used some of these tactics or even these tactics have been used on me. And I'm like, wow, that really worked. I really built a relationship with that person. And this is exactly what they did. So I know from my own life, I can think of examples. So take these ideas, use them, put them out there, and just continue growing your business because we are still in such a great market. It's different, it's weird, but if you are the agent out there and you're using some of this neuro-linguistic programming with your clients, you are going to stand head and tails above the other agents that are calling them up or texting them up. Hey, I'm buying 4 houses this month. Are you ready to sell yours? Don't be that guy. Be the Zach. Yeah. Be like Zach. Implement these tactics into your language, your sales, all of your relationship, even outside of real estate. These tactics, they work, and you'll create happier, healthier, and more well-balanced relationships.
If you have any questions at all, feel free to text me. Don't email me. I'm a month behind in emails. Feel free to text me. I'd be more than happy to chat with you. So thank you, everybody, for attending today. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best of success.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. And then we've just got a couple of classes that are coming up. I think this is next week, May 19th at 10 a.m. Nova Home Loans is going to be doing a how to get your offers accepted class. This one's going to be in person. So if you want to attend that and you miss out on Marketing Matters, we can always send you the recording. This is going to be a really good one, but make sure you RSVP to Patty or Michael, because I'm sure that this class is going to fill up. And once again, it's in person. So reach out to them. And then, of course, there's another 1031 exchange coming up. We all know this is big. California is emptying out. A lot of people are moving here with that extra cash in hand, and they're wanting to do 1031 exchanges. So there's a lot to these. Don't take it lightly. Take this class, get up to date on what is really going on with a 1031 exchange. So once again, you're the agent in the know. This one's going to be on Tuesday, May 18th at 10 a.m. And once again, it's in person.
A little note on that, if we could.
Oh, yeah.
Not to go political, but the 1031 is under attack down at down in Congress, basically trying to increase tax revenues. The 1031 is widely misunderstood in the marketplace from the consumer. They think that it's basically just rich people protecting themselves from taxes and getting rich. I know a lot of small town, mom and pop investors who use 1031s to grow general wealth for the family. These aren't individuals who are making $150 million a year. These are people who are trying to make $100,000, $150,000 a year in investing and basically turning over that depreciation expense that you build up on the properties long term, and without having to pay taxes on them. So that's if 1031s go away, we're going to have a very difficult transition for a lot of the redevelopment products around the entire country. So if you have a minute, look into that type of stuff. If you feel passionately about it, a great way to protect the real estate market. Reach out to your legislator and let them know that you do not want 1031s to go away. It is an amazing vehicle by which people are doing a lot of redevelopment in dilapidated areas. So.
Yeah, a lot. I've known, people, investors coming out of California, buying multi-properties here in Arizona and fixing them up and really investing in these neighborhoods. And we want the growth. We want the investment in our community, in our city. And I mean, Phoenix is the perfect place for this. So yeah, I agree with you, Zach. We want this to keep going.
That's our social message for today.
So thank you, of course, to Zac Storey for coming on. Always such a wealth of knowledge. I'm always inspired. I swear, every time that I do a class with you, or even when we go have lunch, you impact my business. So I hope that you guys all got something really positive out of today's class, and it's going to, you're going to take these tools, you're going to use them, and it's going to impact your business in a really positive way. And of course, thank you to our business development management team. You guys are the backbone of all the marketing that we do here at Landmark Title. So thank you to Beth, Becky, Melinda, Mary, Eric out of our Las Vegas office, Zach, Patty, Michael, and Jessica. You guys are awesome. And of course, thank you to Landmark Title for allowing us to bring you Marketing Matters every Wednesday and so many more fabulous classes that enhance your business. And as always, remember that Landmark Title has 6 offices across the valley to serve all of your title and escrow needs as well. So when you're writing up that contract for your listing, or you're working with buyers and you have a choice, because it might happen, it could totally happen, please make sure that you're putting Landmark Title on your contracts and your deals, because we would love the opportunity to serve you, get these deals done, and then get more deals done, right? That's the name of the game. Y'all have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.